Good afternoon, or evening, or even morning to everyone. This is day 8 of our dozen beers of Xmas.
I think we're getting better at that.
Just waiting for Cam to carry on. And today we will be imbibing, consuming Space Ritual. Showing it in so you know which one to crack open. Space Ritual, 6.4% IPA. And what you're talking about here really is the holy trinity of modern American hops: Simcoe, Mosaic, and Citra.
So I think what you're trying to say, or what you're saying, what I'm hearing is we get 0 points for originality.
Sometimes you don't need originality as long as you've got quality.
I often say this to people about hops, like, "Oh, Citra Mosaic, such a cliched arrangement." I'm like, yeah, it really works.
It's good for a reason. Yeah, it's popular for a reason.
Works beautifully.
So this is this is beer that I knew before I joined Turning Point. It had been made several times beforehand, and yeah, I loved it then. I still love it now. It's one of my favorite of our returning IPAs, certainly. And yeah, for the reasons that I mentioned before, Simcoe, Mosaic, Citra is a great combination. Many breweries use it for this style of beer, and the reason is because it works really well. They're 3 modern hops for New England style, and even people using West Coast IPAs as well. I'd say this is somewhere in between those 2 descriptions of styles. That makes it even better.
So I think what we did this time, because this, as you know, as much as the names and styles of the beers that we bring back remain consistent, all of our beers sort of have some sort of evolutionary process to them. Space Ritual is not an exception to that. So this, the first brew that we've done in Knaresborough, and we switched the yeast from our usual house yeast to Windsor ale yeast, which generally leaves the beer a little bit sweeter, keeps the hops in suspension for longer. You get a more sweet, chewy finish to it. But as a complement to that, we thought it'd only be polite to also increase the bitterness at the same time, so that we didn't really want it to drift too much into New England IPA territory. We wanted to keep those sort of classic flavors from the first round, but by increasing the body and increasing the bitterness, it meant that we could go a little bit heavier on the dry hop as well. And it's just basically the brief for this beer was more, please. And that's what we've got, I think, hopefully.
Yeah, I think in a time period where people seem to, the extremes are the West Coast and the New England, and if you do anything in between where it's like, just IPA, which is what we've called this, people try and classify that. They say, oh, it's a Midwest, or because that's the middle of the US. I'm not sure why they call it that. But I'm happy with this just being called IPA. It is, it is what it is. It's got all of the flavors that you want, and it's not ridiculously opaque to the point where it's soup, but it's not ridiculously bitter either. It's a little bit of both of those things, and it just makes it more drinkable for it for me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely got all of those. There's another tremendous glass, Josh. You're gonna have to tell us about that, aren't you?
Yeah, this was a gift from a friend. It's a beautiful, I think it's elk antler glass with a wooden bottom.
It looks as though it's designed with the handle to like go in your belt or something. Is it designed to go around your jeans?
Yeah, I think that is the purpose of it. I'm not sure I've ever done that with it, but it could be used that way.
You wouldn't want to have it more than half full if you were going to attempt that.
No. I'd look. How hipster would I look though if I walked into Indie Man with this on my belt?
If you handed that to the people at the bars, I think you'd probably get your money's worth for your ticket. But yeah, no, if you dive into this beer, it's smells to me like, again, similar to Silent Echoes, I guess. It's got that fruit salad thing going on. a little bit spicy. But because the mosaics in there in such high quantity, you do get that sort of dankness, that horrible words, but sort of like sweaty onioniness to it. And I love that flavour. I love what the mosaic hop does, which is why we use it in so many of our beers. Yeah, this is really nice.
Yeah, I think when we say fruit salad, I think we talked in previous episodes of this dozen beers of Xmas. Yeah, we talked about the fruit salad when we were describing hops from Australia and New Zealand, and them being, you know, very passion fruit and mango and all this tropical flavour. With this, I get more sort of fruits that we would expect in Europe and America. So I think it's a lot more orange heavy than it would be, say, passion fruit in comparison. Yeah. And that, I think that works well with what you were describing as the dankness of it, and that's probably why these hops work so well in tandem.
Definitely, yeah, and worth pointing out as well, I think all of the 3 hops used in this beer are from the most recent crop as well, so really, really fresh. And like I was saying in the video about, oh, that's a test, isn't it? I can't remember what it was, but I was talking about Simcoe. It was Disco King, wasn't it? Going all the way back over a week now, guys, to video 1 about Disco King, and that Simcoe, when you open the bag of the leaf hop, it's just so incredibly fresh. The same goes for the pellets. It's like there isn't a single bag of Simcoe gets through the brew without me getting a little bit of a sniff of it, because it's just so damn good. And I can see why it's one of your favourites, Josh. Simcoe. It's such a nice ingredient.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's if it's not my favourite from flavour, then it's very close. But what makes it my favourite overall is flavour plus versatility as well.
Definitely, because it sort of treads that line. It's good in a New England style, and it's also really good in a West Coast style IPA. Like our recent brew of Analog Odyssey is quite a good example of that, where it in a slightly more bitter beer, it presents that sort of orangey character and a bit more grapefruit that you'd expect from maybe like a 2010 style IPA, while still having enough juice character to it and enough tropical fruit up front that it's still convincingly a modern hop. Often I think Simcoe is described as Cascade on steroids, but I think maybe Brew 1 has come along as maybe Simcoe on steroids. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't like to try and compare them too much. I think they've all got their own history. Well, I mean, Brew 1's a little bit too new to fall into that category. I think Cascade and Simcoe have got their own history now and are both good for different things.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And
when we talk about when we talk about West Coast and New England, by the way, this is West Coast of the US and New England in the northeast of the US. Different styles of IPA at 2 ends of the spectrum of the IPA. One being a lot clearer, brighter is the term that we would use, with that high bitterness. This is the West Coast, and then the flavor profile that you talk about would be like pine, dankness. A lot, you know, some of them just smell and taste of marijuana, to be honest. And then in the New England category, that would be like a lot less bitterness, a lot more residual sweetness in the beer, opacity, density, viscosity, all of those words would be used, and more tropical fruit flavors from more modern hop usage. Most of these hops are actually predominantly grown on the West Coast, but in the northwest of the US, in the states of Washington and Oregon. Whereas when people describe West Coast IPA as a style, they're mainly talking about California because that's where it originated. And when they speak of New England IPAs, they're speaking of Vermont and Massachusetts because that's where that style originated.
Words. It's very similar to the categorization of music, where it started in a place with a time and then eventually becomes a nonsense.
Yeah, Seattle grunge.
Yeah, definitely. But one thing, it'd be very rude not to mention the artwork for this beer, because it's, I guess it's probably become the sort of the theme for a lot of the things that we do. This is, if you're one of our Disco Royalty subscribers, you'll recognize this from that, I guess. And also, this is the first time Oh no, sorry, the second time we used this lovely UFO, which has pretty much become our, I guess, our logo. And also, I think this was the first beer where we started to use these little hop characters tumbling out of the UFO and up the mountain towards the Hop King on the back. Though these are not guys, they're gals, and that's not a king, it's a queen, because as we know, as we're about to tell you, the hop flowers that we use in our beers are from the female of the species. And this is a much maligned fact when people assign a gender to hops, they are indeed women. Now you know. But yeah, this is probably one of Lottie's first designs that she did for us, and one that we always love to have this beer leaving the brewery and going out into shelves in bars and things, because it's lovely and colourful, and it really sums up, I guess, our brand and artwork as a whole. Yeah,
it's recognisable, stands out on the shelf. One of the beers that we'll review slightly later on in this dozen beers of Xmas.
Oh, sorry, I had a glass in my hand.
Links into this. I guess you call it a sequel to it, in Search of Space. The artwork links to it as well, with the UFO and obviously the name, so it creates a little story within itself.
So yeah, don't get rid of your Space Ritual can label. Keep it, because the In Search of Space artwork ties in directly with it. You will see if you stick them together. But yeah, we're going to leave you there, guys. We're going to leave you to finish your beer off if you've not already. Again, feel free to drop us any questions, and we will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Or if you want to have a day off, the videos are all uploaded. You can have a day off. You can have a couple of days off. If you're sick of the sight of us, it's fine.
Or on the other end of the spectrum, you can watch the next video right now.
Good.
And have it in the next 5 minutes.
That's what me and Josh are going to do. See you soon, guys.
Right. Cheers. Bye-bye.